The rain had been falling for hours, drenching the empty highway in silver streaks. The kind of rain that doesn't just soak your clothes, it soaks into your soul. Emily Walker stood by the roadside, her arms wrapped around herself, trembling from more than just the cold. Her old brown boots were caked with mud, her denim jacket clung to her like a second skin, and in her hands she held a worn-out purse that contained everything she had left. Her phone battery had died an hour ago. The last bus had long gone. She didn't even know exactly where she was, somewhere between the small town she had run from and the big city she hoped might save her. That's when she heard the sound of tires crunching on wet gravel. A silver SUV slowed down beside her, headlights cutting through the mist. The driver rolled down his window. A man in his early 30s, clean-shaven, wearing a grey coat and a look of cautious concern. "Do you need a ride?" he asked softly. Emily froze. She didn't know whether to run, cry, or trust, but her eyes filled with tears, not because she was afraid, but because it had been so long since anyone had asked her if she needed help. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us of the good still left in this world. Emily had always been strong. At least, that's what everyone said. She had worked 2 jobs since high school to support her younger brother after their parents died in a car accident. She never complained, never asked for more than she had. But strength has a breaking point, and hers came the day her boyfriend, whom she trusted more than anyone, left her with nothing but debt and a shattered heart. He took the money she'd been saving for college and disappeared without a word. Her landlord had given her a week to leave, and she'd spent the last of her cash on a bus ticket that only got her halfway to the city where her aunt lived. Now, standing in the rain, she wasn't sure if she could take another step forward or backward. The man in the car looked kind, though. His dark eyes met hers not with pity, but with genuine worry. "You look like you've had a rough day," he said, leaning slightly toward the open window. Emily nodded slowly, biting her lip to stop the trembling. "I'm fine," she whispered, though she clearly wasn't. He hesitated before replying, "Well, you don't look fine. Look, I'm heading toward Brookfield. If that's anywhere near where you're going, I can drop you off." She looked down the road, the rain blurring her vision. Brookfield. It was only 2 hours from where her aunt lived. It was closer than she could ever hope to get on foot. Still, her mind screamed caution. The world hadn't been kind to her lately, and trusting a stranger on a lonely road felt like a risk she couldn't afford. But her heart, fragile and tired, whispered something different. She stepped closer. As she opened the car door, the warmth of the air conditioning hit her face like sunlight after a storm. She murmured a thank you and sat down, clutching her bag tightly on her lap. The man introduced himself as Daniel Hayes, a high school teacher on his way home, after visiting his parents in another town. His voice was calm, steady, the kind that made silence feel comfortable. Emily didn't say much. She just stared out the window, watching the rain race down the glass. For the first few miles, neither of them spoke, but Daniel noticed the tears she tried to hide and the way her fingers trembled when she thought he wasn't looking. Finally, he said gently, "You don't have to tell me anything, but if you need someone to listen, I'm here." That sentence broke something inside her. The walls she'd built, brick by brick, out of pain, disappointment, and betrayal, cracked wide open. She began to talk, haltingly at first, then faster, as if letting the words out could somehow free her from them. She told him about her parents, her brother, her dreams that had crumbled. She told him how she had thought she'd found love, only to discover it was a lie. How she'd worked so hard, only to end up standing alone in the rain, feeling like the world had forgotten her. Daniel didn't interrupt. He didn't offer empty comfort. He just listened. Really listened, with the quiet empathy of someone who understood that sometimes all a person needs is to be heard. By the time they reached the small diner on the outskirts of Brookfield, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. Daniel pulled over and said, "You look like you haven't eaten in a while. Let's get some coffee and something warm." Emily hesitated, but her stomach betrayed her with a soft growl. She hadn't eaten since the night before. Inside the diner, the smell of fresh coffee and pancakes wrapped around her like a blanket. The waitress smiled as Daniel ordered 2 hot coffees and a plate of waffles for each of them. Emily hadn't smiled in days, but when the warmth of the cup touched her fingers, something in her chest loosened. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe. They talked more over coffee. Daniel told her about his students, how he loved helping kids who struggled to believe in themselves. He mentioned how his younger sister had once been through a rough patch, and how sometimes all it took was one act of kindness to change everything. That night, Daniel drove her to a small motel near the city bus station. He handed her a folded $50 bill and a piece of paper with his phone number on it. "For the bus fare," he said, "and just in case you need someone to call." She wanted to refuse, to prove she wasn't a charity case, but her pride had already been washed away by the rain. Tears welled up again as she whispered, "Why are you helping me?" He smiled softly, "Because once someone stopped for me too." Emily didn't sleep much that night. She kept thinking about his words, about the way he'd shown kindness without expecting anything in return. She caught the morning bus to her aunt's town, holding the $50 in her palm like it was a piece of hope she didn't know she could still have. Over the next few weeks, she began rebuilding her life. Her aunt welcomed her with open arms. She found a small job at a cafe, started saving again, and began taking evening classes at a local community college. Every now and then she thought of Daniel and wondered if he even realized how much his simple act of kindness had changed her path. Months passed. The seasons shifted from spring to summer, then to the golden hues of fall. Emily was stronger now, more confident, though she still carried scars that couldn't be seen. One evening, while closing up the cafe, a familiar car pulled into the parking lot, the silver SUV. For a moment she thought her mind was playing tricks on her, but when Daniel stepped out, smiling that same gentle smile, she knew it was real. He had come through town for a teaching conference and decided to stop by. Seeing her behind the counter, laughing with customers, was like witnessing the ending of a story he hadn't known would have such a beautiful continuation. Emily ran up to him, tears streaming freely this time, and hugged him tightly. "You found me," she whispered. He laughed softly. "I wasn't looking. I just wanted coffee." That night they sat together in the same corner booth where she now served others with the same warmth he had once shown her. They talked for hours, catching up on everything that had happened. When the cafe lights dimmed, Daniel said, "You know, I've always believed kindness is a circle. It comes back around when you least expect it." And he was right. A few months later, Emily volunteered at a local shelter that helped women who had lost their homes. She became the one asking the question now, the one that had changed her life. "Do you need a ride?" Every time she said it, she remembered that cold, rainy night, and the stranger who had reminded her that even in the darkest moments, compassion can still find you. Her story spread quietly through the town. People started recognizing her not as the girl who'd been lost on the roadside, but as the woman who helped others find their way again. And though she never sought attention, she often found herself whispering a small prayer of gratitude for the man who had stopped that day, for the chance encounter that had set her life back on course. Years later, when Emily opened her own cafe, a cozy little place named The Second Chance, a framed photo hung near the counter. It showed a rainy road disappearing into the distance, with the words, "Kindness is never wasted. It always finds its way home." She would often tell her customers the story behind that picture, and every time she did, someone in the room would tear up, not because it was sad, but because it was real. Because we've all been Emily once, lost, broken, and waiting for someone to slow down long enough to care. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that good people still exist, and subscribe to our channel for more true-to-life stories of hope and redemption. And before you go, take a moment to comment below. Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected kindness that changed your life? Because sometimes one small act, a ride offered to a stranger, A warm cup of coffee, a gentle word, can rewrite someone's entire story.